Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to take a look at the energies of Mercury Retrograde, which begins May 10th, 2022, when Mercury stations retrograde at 4 degrees of Gemini and travels back to 26 degrees of Taurus until June 3rd. So this Mercury retrograde will be covering 26 degrees of Taurus to 4 degrees of Gemini in your natal astrology chart. And that is where you want to be looking in your chart, specifically the house or houses that Mercury will be traversing during these 3 weeks. We'll be talking about the significance of this particular Mercury retrograde in today's show, as the universe is continually bringing our attention to some areas in our charts and in our lives that we're meant to really stabilize, integrate, and truly own what we need, want, desire, and value at this time in our journey. So we'll be covering that in today's show. Mercury is the fastest moving planet, and the retrogrades typically happen 3 to 4 times in a calendar year. In 2022, we actually have 4 Mercury retrogrades, and they follow a specific theme with every retrograde cycle. And this year, the theme is that Mercury begins in an air sign and goes back into the earth signs. And that's something that's repeated during the 2022 Mercury retrogrades. When we look at this theme, we can see then that Mercury retrograde beginning in the air signs is associated with what we think, how we speak, how we communicate, what's happening in our minds, as well as what we're saying, what we need to say. And Mercury is comfortable in the air signs. So there's an energy here of looking at what you have been focusing on mentally, what has been taking up time for you and consuming your thoughts. This is also how we're communicating with other people, the importance of that, the thoughts we need to express and share. Essentially, what we need to move through our minds, connect to our throat chakra and speak it out. So Mercury in the air signs is often very strong. And with these retrogrades that move back into the earth signs, it comes back to an energy that's looking for greater clarity, stability, practicality. The earth signs govern how we create and build our physical world. And Mercury often goes slower in the earth signs, needs more time, needs more space, needs to allow things to gestate and then sink in and understand, how is this going to come together? How is this going to work? Oftentimes the earth signs ask the how questions in order to get a grasp on what can be effective, what can be made real, and what is essential. So Mercury traveling back into the earth signs reconnects us to something that we're meant to understand that perhaps provides a foundational level. Meaning we're looking for a way to create the necessary solutions or next steps, how to solve problems. And this Mercury going back into the earth signs is essentially going back, slowing down, looking at the details, the evidence, the facts, understanding more about even the constraints, because the earth signs deal with the barriers of the real world, where you can only do so much or go so far based on what you have, what is in front of you, what you have to work with. And that provides some boundaries. Mercury and earth signs provide boundaries, as well as then creating something that will work from that place. So this is an overall view of the Mercury retrograde energies of 2022, where there's something that the Mercury in the air signs wants to move forward with, because Mercury being energized in the air signs can have a lot of ideas, a lot of things to say and communicate, a lot of ways to perhaps go about something. And Mercury in the air signs tends to be more social. But what we're doing at this current cycle of energy is going into what is needed, what is essential, and where should you focus your energy and be more conscious of that without simply staying in any repeating cycles or essentially looking at where your mind can be put to good use, where you're meant to focus on things that matter, what you're ready to reevaluate. And so during the Mercury retrograde, of course, it brings up all the RE words that we know about, such as reevaluate, reprioritize, reconsider, reframe, review. You get the idea. And what this feels like energetically is that it gives our minds a chance to slow down. So if you have felt that your mind has been very heavy, or you have decision-making fatigue, or you've been weighed down by a lot going on in your life, in the world, or simply just feeling like you're ready for time to catch up with yourself or time to catch up with all the details of life, the Mercury retrograde energies are perfect for that. So even though we tend to associate Mercury retrograde with problems and issues and snafus, delays, cancellations, it also is a time to slow down, because with Mercury being the fastest planet and being energetically connected to our brains and our minds and our internal processing system, we get a chance to slow all that down and to be more self-aware, to be more intentional and more conscious of what we're thinking of, where our minds are going, and what that's revealing about our current state of energy. So if you're feeling a lot of worries or anxiety about something or particular area of your life, Mercury retrograde can help you review and maybe look at something in a new way, or maybe catch something that you didn't see the first time, where it is that slowdown that gives us an opportunity to catch up with ourselves, to take some deeper breaths, to look at what is really important here and what is just consuming the mind, what is just taking up energy and space that isn't really important or essential. And that would be a good way to look at this particular Mercury retrograde, because there's something here that we're meant to return to. We're meant to come back to it, to an important part of what we value and need right now, especially as Mercury re-enters Taurus on May 23rd. So let me give you some dates here around this particular Mercury retrograde energy that begins May 10th. At 4 degrees of Gemini, as I mentioned, and then Mercury retrogrades back into Taurus on May 23rd and continues to 26 degrees of Taurus until June 3rd, then stations direct to move forward, re-enters Gemini on June 13th, and officially clears the shadow zone period on June 19th. So you could be feeling that there's things that are happening. There's a momentum and a movement that occurs when Mercury is in Gemini. But during this particular retrograde, the universe is saying that it's important to be very, very intentional, that what you're thinking, speaking, communicating, and energetically connecting to is grounded in the Taurus energies. The Taurus energies are about what you value now. And what I find fascinating about this Mercury retrograde is that it's bringing our attention back to these late degrees of Taurus that have been recently energized by the November lunar eclipse that occurred in Taurus at 27 degrees. And then in late January, the second half of January 2022, the North Node went over these same degree points in your chart. And the North Node in Taurus is about how we're learning and growing into our value systems at this time. It's connected to higher levels of self-love, where you're truly understanding what you need based on your own terms, that stabilizes you, that stabilizes your life, that gives you a foundation, but that also feels good to you, because that Taurus energy wants you to feel solid and clear in the life you're living, the energy you're experiencing within yourself, how you're using that energy and it's being emitted from your aura to communicate what is important to you, what you value, what you need, what you want, but also to remind you how much you are loved for being in this physical body at this time. Taurus is the first earth sign. It is our first experience of our earthly reality, and it brings up our deeper imprints about what the physical world represents to us. Meaning Taurus can be that energy of what you first learned about your creativity, your self-worth, what it meant to be in this world and be connected to all the earthly realms. Taurus is the energy of your first experiences of money, of finances, what you were taught, especially at a young age, around abundance, around money, around how to care for it and be a responsible steward of money, especially in your own life. Taurus is about what we accumulate, what we buy, what we invest in, what we possess, what we take into our physical space. And that's because it's what we value, what we like, what we want. And so there could be something here that's bringing your attention to where your money is going, what you find worthy, what you want to invest in. There's also the energy here of looking at what you're ready to do next to fortify a good quality life for yourself. And this could be looking at some of your unconscious habits. That Taurus energy is a fixed sign. So there could be things on repeat that you've never really looked at or questioned before, but simply noticing, oh, maybe I need to eat more vegetables. Oh, I should drink more water. Oh, maybe I should get rid of this coat from 1992. Maybe I don't need all these throw pillows on my couch. I mean, it's little things like that you've just always assumed or accepted about your physical environment that you could be reassessing, especially during this particular retrograde cycle. But what it's showing you is this way to be energetically connected to what speaks to you and what you want, and to not be afraid of the changes that are ready to be made. And that's because Mercury in Gemini is showing us where we're ready to do something in a new way with new insights, because that Gemini energy is very adaptable. It likes choices and possibilities. So there could be something here that you're opening up to a new possibility. You're opening up to seeing something in your world in a new way because it's connecting to your own energy in a new way. So there's something that can be revamped. And that is another way to look at the Mercury retrograde energies with consciousness. What am I ready to revamp, change up, do differently, get rid of, throw out? Because what we're looking at here is essentially the basics of our existence. And that goes down to some of the core energies of Taurus, which are connected to the five senses. What we see, touch, taste, hear, smell, that creates what is true for us, what is right for us. And to trust that in yourself more than ever. To not be afraid of the change. To not be afraid of what you are ready to revamp and get rid of, because that's your energy speaking to you that you're ready for that new possibility, that new option, that new choice that Mercury in Gemini tends to get really excited about. So there could be something during this particular phase that you've already started, you got it going, you were ready to move forward with it. And then you could have this time period of really checking in and gaining clarity on, is this really what I want? Is this really what I want to invest my energy in? Do I have the energy for this? And is it true for me? So this particular Mercury retrograde is more personal. It's more personal, and it's asking you to internalize what is resonating with you right now and to look at where you've been on autopilot or perhaps just going about things because it's always how you've done them. But there's a lot of change here. There's a lot that the universe is bringing our attention to in those late degrees of Taurus that we're really meant to raise our consciousness around and to be willing to do something differently or in a new way. A much deeper energy change is occurring here in the late degrees of Taurus because we had the Taurus Lunar Eclipse, the North Node moving through these degree points, plus Pluto in Capricorn trining these degree points especially the first few months of 2022. So the universe is bringing your attention to the late degrees of Taurus. We'll call it between 26 to 29 degrees of Taurus. And if you have any planets or points here, the energy is working with you more personally. If you do not have planets or points here, you want to identify which house this is occurring in for you, which house you have 26 to 29 degrees of Taurus, because this is where you are undergoing significant changes around the Taurus themes that I mentioned, and they're showing up in the particular house where this energy is in your chart. And keep in mind that every house is essentially an area of life, an environment of life, and shows us where this change and growth is occurring. On November 19th, 2021, the Taurus Lunar Eclipse brought in something to your higher awareness that was an opening point. And it was meant to reveal more of this energy to you, that you're ready to evolve to a new place. And this is where the universe is showing you more of what is important to you, what you do want, what you do need. And perhaps it's revealing to you what is out of alignment, what no longer fits, what no longer works, what you haven't seen before. That Taurus lunar eclipse was revelatory in that it was a full moon that was shining a light on something that the universe wants you to see. It was almost like a heads up that this is the part of your life that's going to be undergoing some big changes, and we're going to support you in doing so. That support is happening through the trine from Pluto in Capricorn, which is in the late degrees of Capricorn, working with this area of your chart, supporting the transformation, helping you see what you're ready to shift, evolve, and change so that it's in alignment with that sense of purpose, that sense of what you're doing in your life that matters. Capricorn gives us the big picture. And what we're looking at here is that as Pluto in Capricorn has been showing us more about what we're doing with our energy, the bigger scope of our energy, including our jobs, professional life, soul mission, soul purpose, these very strong guiding energies in this lifetime, we're now looking at what in our Taurus energies are ready to shift and evolve as well, especially if they've been stuck. Again, stuck in a pattern, stuck in a habit, stuck in something unconscious that you weren't aware of. And I'm using the word stuck simply because Taurus is a fixed sign and it could have a lack of desire to change. So now you might feel there's a rising willingness. You're willing to change. You're willing to do something in a new way or shift it or experience it in a new manner that maybe you weren't ready for last year. But the universe has been working with us intensely. And what we're doing here is not only understanding what we're ready to evolve, shift, and change, but there's something now with this Mercury retrograde where it's basically being recalibrated mentally for us, where you could have an energetic understanding of this is what is changing for me, or this is where I'm understanding some things in a new way, seeing this part of myself or this part of my world in a new light. Now this Mercury retrograde is asking you to really look at some of the particulars and the details of how the energy originated, or looking at what you've been doing that you're realizing this doesn't work for me anymore, or I don't want that anymore, or I do want to do something in a new way or with a fresh take on things. But how? How do I do that? And because Mercury is going into the earth sign of Taurus, there is something about looking at what is involved at that base level. What is involved financially? What do you need to change in how you've been perceiving something, or what you thought the limitations were, or where you felt maybe you couldn't move past a certain boundary or barrier. The Mercury retrograde back into Taurus is opening us up to a new way of seeing something, but our minds need to recalibrate and shift to a higher frequency to see more from a bigger viewpoint. And that isn't something that Taurus naturally does. I mean, Taurus is connected to the earth, to the ground. But the support of Pluto in Capricorn is a bit like finding that skyscraper to stand on and then look down on the earth, then look down on what you're in or what you're moving through. And I feel that Pluto in Capricorn, which is now retrograde, meaning that whatever you are reconsidering and reworking, it isn't new. It's something you've already been in touch with. You've already been aware of it. And this Mercury retrograde is going to support you in making the changes that are needed to be in alignment with whatever is shifting and going forward in a new way. But the universe wants you to do it with greater consciousness, greater intention, and to essentially, again, change any patterns or habits that can't go forward, that aren't really serving this next phase or this new direction. And the Pluto retrograde is really helping us dig in and to understand the bigger picture of it all. Because yes, that Taurus energy is very much in the here and now, but I feel this Pluto in Capricorn, as well as the North Node in Taurus that already went through this part of your chart, is opening you up to a bigger picture, a bigger understanding that involves more of yourself than ever before, more of what you really need that works for you, that fits for you, than maybe you've experienced before or you've acknowledged before in yourself. So this very strong emphasis on the Taurus energy is asking you to go within and to look at what supports you energetically. And it can help to compare the Taurus energy to Scorpio energy, which is the opposite sign of the zodiac wheel, where the Scorpio energy is where we merge. We have energies that work together, either with other people, other sources, other resources, other energies. There's that deep merge in the Scorpio energy field that brings things together. And in a healthy way, this is where we feel supported, or we have others to turn to who support us. And this is why Scorpio is about therapists, counselors, those who help us move through deep, significant phases of our lives. Scorpio is also about the assets we share with others. And this can be related to people that you live with, people that you share property with, those who are invested in the same thing together, such as those who go into a business partnership together, pooling together their resources. Scorpio is about how you share your energy openly, vulnerably, intimately with others. Scorpio is about sexuality, psychology, going into the intimate nature of our needs and allowing that to be a way to connect with others. Again, when this is done in a healthy way. But what we're looking at here are where are the ways that you need to pull your energy out of something that's no longer healthy and come back to yourself, which is what the Taurus energy wants you to do. Taurus is about how you're grounded and clear in yourself, but the opposite sign of Scorpio can show you what is not healthy, what is not working, what is out of sync or out of balance, where the energies are no longer connected to what you really want and value. And so there is a separation here. It's a separation away from the Scorpio energies that have been too much or that perhaps are no longer healthy. Because as that Scorpio energy goes into lower expressions, it can be very unhealthy. It can feel like there are power plays or control dynamics. You can be questioning someone's intentions. If there's any betrayal or manipulation or anything going on that you can't quite see, but you're feeling it. These are some of the things in the Scorpio underbelly that we sense and feel. And what I'm sensing here is that the strong focus that we've had on these Taurus themes is for you to trust yourself, trust what you're feeling, trust what you're sensing, trust what energy is speaking to you, and then pull it back into that clear, strong, grounded Taurus energy where you're able to look at what you really need and want right now that you're deeply connected to, and perhaps where your energy has gone too far outside of yourself or too much into other people or into other experiences, situations, emotions. It's a bit like retracting the energy back in. And I'm getting the image of one of those retractable measuring tapes that you stretch out to measure something, and then you hit the button and it retracts all the way back in. That's what this feels like. Pull something back in, pull it back into yourself, into your energy field. Same with one of those retractable leashes where, again, you pull it back in, you pull the energy back in, and that's what the universe wants us to do right now with this ongoing emphasis in the late degrees of Taurus, where we're looking at what has gone too far outside of you and how can you bring it back in to really understand what it means to you, what it's worth, what it's about. Is it necessary? Is it something that is still energetically speaking to you and lifting you up? And if not, you already know that. And that's what it feels like as well, that at some level of our being, you already know this answer, but the Mercury retrograde is helping you sort through more of the specifics, how it looks in the real world, the choices and decisions you need to make. Perhaps that includes financial choices, or something around money awareness, which is a strong theme as well with the Scorpio lunar eclipse happening on May 16th. So you could be reassessing something around your personal finances during this Mercury retrograde, but it's not new necessarily. It could be something that you already sensed and were aware of starting last November. Then it came up in January, especially the second half of January of this year. And now this Mercury retrograde is helping us pull together some new solutions, choices, and options around what is best going forward and what makes sense. Because that Taurus energy is going to make things very clear. And it's kind of like showing you, again, the boundaries or the limitations where if something is out of your budget, it's out of your budget. And so what are you going to do to make the needed changes that will actually alleviate stress or lighten the load a bit? And remember that ongoing trine from Pluto retrograde in Capricorn is supporting this. It's showing you that this is right on time. This is necessary. This is what's going to serve you for the long term. And again, if you go up to the top of a skyscraper and you look down on the earth, you see things in a different way. You see it with a new perspective, a new vantage point, things that you didn't see before. So we're getting a fuller picture of why it's needed to make these changes and what it's going to lead to or what the benefits will be later on. Mercury retrograde in Taurus will make 2 more trines to this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn at 28 degrees. That will happen on May 25th and 26th. And again, when Mercury is direct on June 11th and June 12th. So we're really undergoing a deep change to help you get clarity on the changes you're ready to make, the new choices you're ready to commit to, because it has the right long-term payoff. And so even if right now there's something that you have to cut back on or you're ready to make that shift in your priorities, there's something here that's going to be worth it. And I feel like it's going to bring about a new level of peace. Taurus wants peace, harmony, simplicity, ease. How can I make this easier for myself? How can I make something simpler? That's what Taurus is about, because that then opens up your energy to enjoy life more, to look for more of the beauty around you, to appreciate what you have, to feel gratitude for not only your own energy, but what you're doing to create your life. So I feel like there's something here where the universe is bringing us back into these Taurus energies to connect with something that brings about deeper peace that maybe we missed the first time. We weren't ready to make those changes. Perhaps it just felt like too much, but this is now going to be a phase when you can really assess what you need, what you want, and have an understanding that it doesn't have to be so complicated. It doesn't have to be so intense Or maybe it doesn't have to involve so many people or energies or sources. Again, those are all the Scorpio energies. And we're retracting some part of our energy back into the Taurus parts of yourself so that you can connect to what that means for you now. And with the Taurus energy, it takes time for things to be truly planted and rooted. For example, one of my neighbors is doing a very big landscaping project right now where he is renovating his backyard, and he had a bunch of things removed. And just a few weeks ago, he brought in and planted 2 palm trees. They are easily 12 or 15 feet high, and they are firmly planted into the earth, but it takes time for the tree's root system to go down deep and really latch on, to really feel secure and stabilized in the new environment. So here you have these 2 beautiful palm trees that are healthy and strong, and they're in this new environment, but it can't be rushed. There's things about the stabilizing process that just takes time. And this is something that the Taurus energy is aware of, that you can't force something to grow faster than it needs to grow, that it takes time for a sense of security to be fully integrated. And these palm trees are doing well, they're flourishing, they're healthy, but you can tell that they have to wait and allow the roots to settle and to be securely in place before they can do the next phase of the landscaping project. And that's what this Mercury retrograde feels like, is that there's some things that just take time, and you want to make sure it's done well, that it's done with consciousness and also with the right quality. Quality is a Taurus value where you want good things because you believe that you're worth it. It energetically resonates with you. It's something that supports your life and what matters. And so it's looking at, where do I need better quality in my life? Where do I need things that really have meaning to me that I want to invest in, whether that is energetically, financially, or otherwise? But there's a sense here of when you are coming from that place, the universe responds as well. So when you're saying, I want better quality, then the universe says, okay, we're going to bring in better quality here. But the universe requires us to say that first, because that's how powerful we are. And that's where our energy speaks to the universe. So in this part of your chart where we're talking about this strong Taurus energy that's been emphasized with the Taurus Lunar Eclipse, the North Node in Taurus, and Pluto in Capricorn trining these points, there is something here that you're meant to be improving. You're meant to be working with better quality, make a new investment, do something that brings in a higher expression in this part of your chart, because there's a lot of support for it right now. And this is where we have abundance. But it's not simply abundance through finances or money. It's how abundance is all around us, and it's easily found in nature. Nature is naturally abundant, where you can see that a tree has thousands of leaves. The beach has billions and billions of grains of sand. There are thousands and millions of blades of grass perhaps on your front lawn. So when you sync up to this energy of abundance that exists all around us in millions of forms, you're then syncing up to that frequency of abundance in the universe and on this planet. And that's going to help you see things in a new way, as well as connect to the abundance within you, not only within you physically and the millions, if not billions of cells that compose our body, but also how we're designed to experience and exist within this abundance. And that abundance can be very high quality. So I feel like this energy is about upgrading us in some manner, looking at what you're ready to claim, declare, or step into, because it further connects to your own self-value, self-love, and self-worth that perhaps has been undergoing a very deep renovation, as well as a truer expression of what that is for you. And when we bring in this Mercury retrograde, we can see where our minds need to get on board, perhaps even where mentally maybe you haven't been fully connecting with this consciousness or you haven't fully owned it. And there could be something that comes about during this Mercury retrograde that gives you an opportunity to say, yes, I want that. I want the better quality. I want the best thing. I want the new project or endeavor or whatever it might be to be truly grounded in this higher consciousness of the best quality. And that can be very subjective because it could be that what is better for you isn't the same for another person, but it's not about comparison. It's not about looking at what anybody else is doing. Again, this is the Taurus energy of coming back to yourself and understanding this is what's improving for me. This is what I want next. This is where the upgrade is happening. This is where I want the upgrade to happen. And this is also where you could feel yourself breaking out of any patterns, habits, or loops that no longer serve you. It's sort of like, oh, this is just running dry, or oh, this doesn't even feel good. This doesn't even work. This sinks my energy. I'm tired of this pattern in myself, or I'm ready to have a new experience of this energy in a particular area of my life. Now, of course, this is all just general, and you want to take some of these main themes and apply them to yourself and to these areas in your chart where the late degrees of Taurus is showing up. Because the universe is saying, come back here, start here, look here, and be aware of what you've been thinking about that hasn't been in alignment with this sense of your own value, worthiness, quality, or abundance that you've been experiencing as a rising up in yourself. This Mercury retrograde could ask you to be making these new choices, to be communicating something in a new way, in a different way, to really speak what you want, to activate that throat chakra and understand the power of your words, especially in how you're hearing yourself. Because there's something about speaking words out loud that we register it in our brain in a new way. It's like you really hear yourself and what you're thinking and what you're saying, and it can help you understand more of what you're truly wanting and needing when you speak it out loud. So that can be something to just do when you're going about your day, when you're driving in the car, when you're going for a walk, when you're in the house by yourself, is that when you're speaking the words out loud, you're activating even more within your own energy field because now it's outside of your brain. And this is one of the ways that Mercury is quite interesting because Mercury is about our internal processing style and how we do that. But then it's also about how we take what's internal and make it external, how we speak it, how we give it life outside of our brain. And this is where you can often be surprised by what you just said, or something comes out differently than how you thought it would. And it's an interesting way to observe your own energy moving through you, as well as hearing yourself, hearing what you really want, and hearing what you're really saying. This Mercury retrograde is going to be a powerful time to level up, to do something new or different that started for you in November 2021. That was also a big theme for you in the second half of January 2022. And now the universe is saying, okay, let's get on board with this. Let's recalibrate and start to think of it in a new way so that you're in full alignment with where you're ready for these changes to occur in your life. And that's also a theme here, is that this is about change. This is about parts of ourselves that are undergoing a very deep renovation. And now it's time to look at what those new choices are, as well as how to think about them in a positive way. Because sometimes that mind can go down various rabbit holes or be stuck on certain details or specifics. And keep in mind, there's always a solution, and maybe you just need more information. And so when Mercury goes back into Gemini, Gemini is about more information, gathering more details, understanding more of the specifics that maybe you weren't aware of during the Mercury and Taurus energies. So it is a good time to stay open to what you're accumulating and to know that if you don't know something, then ask a question, reach out, research it, see what you can find. But more importantly, don't be stuck in what you don't know yet, because those pieces are going to come forward. That information is going to reveal itself. Right now, it's about going into your base level requirements. And again, what you are doing differently, where you are seeking more quality, different results, different outcomes, because you're understanding more of what you're worth. You're owning more of what that means to you. You're really standing stronger in your own value system. And you could feel that there has been an energetic shift that you've been moving through as well. Because again, these energies aren't new. They've been working with us, but there's something about the Mercury retrograde that's bringing the mind on board in a new way, especially if the mind has been the last part of you to get on board, or if there's been something you haven't seen before, or you missed it the first time, or you didn't understand it, or you weren't sure how is this going to work, because Taurus is very practical. I feel like that information is going to come through and come in during this particular Mercury retrograde. It's going to give you new things to sit with, to be aware of, to understand, to make decisions about. And then when Mercury stations direct on June 3rd, there could be a very clear understanding of, this is what I want. I know I'm worth it. I know it's correct for me. I know I can do this and that I'll be supported. It could be necessary to sit with things when Mercury goes back into Taurus, and then it will start to pick up when Mercury returns to Gemini. So there could be a sense here that you're moving along, things are happening, things are coming together, and then you retract, you go back into yourself, you go back into needing time to process or sit with something, then it clicks, then it comes together and makes sense, and then you're able to have a clearer plan going forward. It also feels like these are bigger life changes, and that's simply because it involves the eclipse energy, the North Node, and it's working with Pluto. So there's something that's happening on a bigger scale that's changing in your life in some manner that could feel quite grand or significant. Again, this could just be within you. You could be feeling it internally, that you're deeply shifting and changing something around your value system, even around how you relate to money or finances, certainly about your creativity, what you want to experience or create in the world because it really energizes you. Whatever it may be. But there is greater significance here around life changes that are happening, and to know that it's supported. It's beautifully supported. Now, the good news is that the universe is giving us time and various stages to make these changes. That there's this ongoing process that's underway that can reduce some of the overwhelm and can help you pace the energy, which again is a strength of Taurus. So you can pace it and feel like you're managing it better. But know that there's something here that's right on time, that you're ready to connect to, and to believe that you're truly worth it, that it's real. It's meant to be real. It's meant to be made real. And there's something here also about loving yourself enough to say yes to what that is, whatever that may be for you, because of course it could be so many things for each of us. But this is a rising self-love. That's what Taurus wants us to walk with, to carry in the world. Is this loving to me? Is this healthy? Is this kind? Is this supportive? Is this something that really feeds me and nourishes me and helps me love and accept myself? That's what we need more of in our lives. And I feel like that's one of the best ways to make use of this Mercury retrograde, because the universe wants you to carry that energy forward, to know that it's an integral part of who you are, especially at a soul level. And if you can fully accept that assignment, and if you can say yes to anything or everything that connects to your self-love and self-value, that's where you're really going to see the new quality and the better things start to show up, because they're going to be reflected back to you. So this feels like a very pivotal and important Mercury retrograde phase. And I hope this information has helped you connect with some of the deeper themes or situations you've been moving through. Anything as well that's been changing for you in the Taurus areas of your chart. Perhaps this Mercury retrograde is going to help you understand more of those changes, what you're ready to let go of, remove what no longer fits, what no longer feels good for your energy, and then help you tune in more specifically to other things that are correct for you, are healthy, are loving, are kind. And that's where, again, the universe is here to support you and to help you create and manifest more of that in your world. Also important to note that this Mercury retrograde won't be as intense as the one that happened earlier this year in January, when Mercury was retrograde in Aquarius and went back into Capricorn and had those ongoing conjunctions to Pluto. So Mercury has been working with Pluto deeply this year, but this is a Mercury retrograde that supports the change, that supports the transformation, and could feel powerful, could feel like you're working with your power now instead of feeling like you were submerged or repressed. This has a more empowering note to it. So I hope you feel that energy rising within you as well, and that it helps you navigate what we are undergoing, especially during eclipse season here in May 2022. As always, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for another episode, and you'll also find new videos from me on YouTube every Friday. You can check out all of my current programs and courses over at Molly McCord Online, as well as a free library of business videos for entrepreneurs and those of you who are developing your online business at this time. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time, energy, and presence. I'll be back here very soon for another podcast episode. In the meantime, I wish you a beautiful Mercury retrograde as you are perfectly on time for everything you're ready to manifest and experience next. I'll see you back here really soon.